Hey, 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 welcome to On the Fridge. I'm Gavin with my good friend Dave. Give the people a shout, Dave.
Hey everybody, talking to me with my brand new $4 headset.
Oh my God, all of $4.
$4. Thank you guys very much to our supporters,
I
your
mean,
generous
yeah.
contribution. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm not just saying that either.
No, this directly came from our Provident Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's right. We have the Provident Fund. We have the Per Diem Stipend Fund. Uh, we
The
have.
feed the Gavin Lucky fund.
Oh, we can't
We don't
afford
have
that
that.
yet. No,
Oh,
I'm on a diet.
oh
Um,
boy. Oh boy.
maybe next season. Anyways, this season we are following up on an old story, really a story almost as old as the podcast itself. We are coming back for the umpteenth time to actually a pretty sobering topic, which is the scam farms of Southeast Asia. Dave, did you just want to lead people in here?
Yeah, sure. So you're not familiar with the topic. Scam farms have popped up in Southeast Asia in the last 7 to 10 years, primarily in Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar.
Hmm.
And in the last couple of weeks, there's been a cleaning up of these scam farms in Cambodia on the surface. And this is very much a whack-a-mole type of move
Hmm.
where the local government is going in, they're cleaning up shop, they're trying to get rid of one scam farm, and probably in a couple more weeks, another one is going to pop up. And these keep popping up primarily because there is a lot of organized crime in the region, and there's a lack
Hmm.
of governance to actually stop this. And we could go into some other social problems that are going on in countries in Southeast Asia that are leading to this, but it's going to make for a long episode. We're not going to get into that today.
We're not going to do that today. I mean, so historically, I think just to add on to that, yeah, historically weak governance, particularly in the Golden Triangle region, so Laos and Burma. But it's also worth noting that in all the countries that you just mentioned, there has been tacit or explicit governmental support of these enterprises. And until Cambodia, until very recently in Cambodia, it was the case that the government would very blandly officially deny that they were in any way these businesses don't exist here. It's a huge part of the economy. Members of the regime in charge there have been linked. It was incredibly obvious, basically, to anyone who had eyes, that this was being done with government approval and indeed, in some cases, government aid.
Yeah,
What
and this is
has
also
changed?
stated by the State Department too, has come out and publicly said this.
And this was, again, this was not news. And in Laos and in Burma, I think the equation changed for the junta when the civil war happened and when Chinese citizens started getting targeted. You started seeing more pushback from the Chinese government. Also, I think a big factor in definitely in the pushback in Cambodia is the Thai government. And do you
Hmm.
just want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, so in the last year, Thailand and Cambodia have had a hot war going
Mm.
on. They've had several skirmishes going in the eastern border of Thailand and kind of the western part of Cambodia. And through these skirmishes, the Thais have found out that, well, inside of these scam farms, they have developed fake police stations.
Hmm.
And this is kind of the main meat and potatoes of our episode. But these fake police stations are essentially set up to scam people all over the world. And they're using AI, they're using technology, and they're using people's fears to prey on victims all over the world. And this isn't something that's new, but the way they're doing it and doing it in a very dastardly way of using fake police offices is quite new. And they've got
Well,
these set up all
yeah.
the way down to the logo. You've got them
Yeah.
for Chinese, Indonesian police, the AFP, Thai police, virtually every country in Southeast Asia and Australia as well, as I just mentioned.
Mm,
They have fake police offices set up, and they're calling
mm.
people through video calls, and they're saying, "We know that you have crypto accounts, or we know you've been gambling online, and you owe this guy money, and well, we're going to go after you. We're the police. We look legit and we are legit, and you better pay up and pay to this account, and we can kind of make this all go away. Or you're going to do hard time because we know where you live, we know where your family lives, and we're going to come after you." And it works.
It works a lot of the time. And again, people are going to hear about this and they're going to go, well, I would never fall for something that obviously a scam. Well, you don't know. First of all, you don't know. You hit someone on the right time, the right day, you give them the right information. You have a sort of base level of credibility and you would be surprised. The second thing is it doesn't have to work for everyone. A scam like this, once you have the setup, once you have the script, once you have people who can follow through and you have the account set up, it's very low cost once you've covered your bases. So you can do this 10, 20 times. You don't need more than three or four people to take the bait, and you potentially got tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Hmm.
depending on kind of how you've done your market research. It's also worth noting, so there are a couple of things about this. When Thailand was probing the border, they found most of these scam center fake police stations actually in the basements of or next to casinos, which is an interesting detail right off the bat. Most of the casinos were owned by people with connections to the Cambodian government.
Shocker.
Shockaroo. Second interesting detail to highlight here is this is a variation on a scam that I'm very familiar with because in India, there's actually a name for this. It's called the digital arrest scam. And I would say every couple of weeks, you get reports in the paper of people making off with actually pretty crazy amounts of money for India. And the digital arrest cam, you can send someone a text, you can video call them, you can call them on the phone, you can even send them an email, and it's usually a statement, picture of a guy in an office with a uniform on, going, "You are under digital arrest, and in order to process your legal fees, we are going to need access to your account information." And you go, who the hell is going to give this person your account information? But the issue in India is most people do most things online, and that includes legal processes, that includes definitely getting IDs, a lot of government business is done online. People are very credulous when it comes to these things, and it is sort of an evergreen scam in this part of the world. It was just funny to me to see it being done in the middle, basically in the middle of a jungle, in the basement of a casino on the Cambodian border within spitting distance of Thailand. And this is now I think the reason we're seeing this from the Cambodian government right now is that essentially this is a major concession to the Thai government because the Thais and the Cambodians are currently not in a shooting war. Thailand stopped bombing the casinos, which was a thing it was doing for some time. And the Cambodians now seem to be cracking down and, crucially, deporting people to China or trying to. So this is a development. It's an interesting development. It's the intersection of organized crime and technology and geopolitics. But it's also, and I think very interestingly, what you were saying, it's more whack-a-mole. You take the current people out of the picture, you're just going to get different faces in the game.
Hmm.
This
Well,
is
and
this is way too lucrative.
yeah, and too, on that same note, if you go back and you look the last couple of years, you can say there's been cooperation where the Chinese have gone in and said, okay, we want to get our criminals
Mm.
repatriated back to China. Okay, so
In Myanmar,
they'll send 250 back
yeah.
from Cambodia to China, or they'll have, another 100 or 150. You just had the Ming family from Myanmar that were brought to China and executed in the last week. So the Chinese government on the surface, it looks like, is trying to step up and do something about this. And I've got some theories as to why they're doing it. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But on the surface, it looks like there is some cooperation here between most of the countries in Southeast Asia that, yeah, we want to get rid of this. But when you dig down, I really don't think they do because it's way too lucrative, as Gavin is saying. And if you have them setting up shop in a country that's not your country, your law enforcement doesn't have to deal with it with their resources.
I think
They just
that's
have to
what
protect their citizens.
changed. I think that's what's changed the equation slightly with Thailand because it has been affecting the Thai economy.
Hmm.
So Thailand itself does not, as far as I'm aware, does not have a large scam farm industry in the same way that Myanmar certainly has in the past, in the way that Laos does, in the way that Cambodia does. And I'm sure there are one or two at least somewhere in the country, but it's certainly not a phenomena where, like, you look at Cambodia and we're looking at potentially hundreds of thousands of people working in these things, most of them against their will. This is just not the case in Thailand. You're not seeing this on that scale. Why is the Thai government leading this regional push? Well, a lot of it has to do with it has been negatively impacting tourist numbers, largely from China, going into Thailand. And the reason why is, and the guy on Substack, David Whitehouse, covers this very, very well. He talks about how Thailand is used as a cover story for the recruiting side of these scam farms. So again, a lot of the people working in these are not native to this country. They have been brought in from abroad, usually under false pretenses. And HR for these organizations brings people in from countries like India, like a lot of East African countries, like
Nepal.
Taiwan, Nepal, even Pakistan. Basically, every country you can imagine from Southeast Asia all the way to East Africa, or even West Africa, in some cases. So they're bringing people in from all over the world. A lot of IT people, a lot of HR people, a lot of people with degrees in communication. And they are, I mean, just as slave labor. They're forcing them to work. They're not paying them. They're holding them in basically subhuman conditions. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And the key thing is, no one is going into these things being told, hey, you're going to be working 18-hour days in a casino basement here in northern Cambodia. People are not really signing on to those jobs. I think there are people like in Snookville, in some of those centers, I think people have probably signed up for those willingly. But in the vast majority of these, they have not. So you sell them a story about, well, we've got this office in Thailand. We've got this job in Bangkok. It's an HR position, it's a communications position. Please come in. Usually a friend of the friend tells the person about this. And people were getting nabbed at the airport. They'd show up in Bangkok, in Suvarnabhumi. They would be met by the recruiter at the airport. They would go into a white van and they said, "Oh, it's just, it's a couple hours. You should take a nap or something." And the
Hmm.
next thing you know, you got a hood over your head and you're getting hustled across the border in handcuffs. And all of a sudden, you got a laptop and a script and you've got some PO'd, I hate to say it, but usually Chinese national with a lot of tattoos and a chain smoking problem, looking at you going, okay, here's the quota. If you don't meet it, we're going to have a problem.
Well, you're going to have a bigger problem.
Everyone's going to have a problem. I don't want that problem.
No,
Yeah, but I am going to have a problem. Why am I going to have a problem, Dave?
I couldn't tell you, Gavin. Probably because
Because I'm getting scammed.
you're getting scammed. You're falling for it.
I'm falling for it. I'm getting scammed. These people have problems. I have problems.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, I'm out $10,000 because this nice Nigerian fella said he needed to move some money out of his country.
Well, I thought you were just going to say that, your inbox was filling up and you were getting all kinds of spam messages and it was eating your day. If it's eating your bank account, that's a real problem there.
It's a bummer. But this is a serious issue, and it has affected the Thai economy in that there were a couple high-profile cases, particularly of Chinese nationals
Hmm.
who were kidnapped. I mean, that's what it is. It's kidnapping.
Yeah.
And there has been a decrease in Chinese tourism to Thailand. This affects the Thai economy. It also, just on a general level, makes it difficult to attract businesses. The Thai economy is not so hot, particularly after a year in which they were involved in two shooting wars with a neighbor. So they're trying to create an environment that is conducive to attracting business.
And
Yes,
they've got an election coming up too in a couple of
they
days.
do. They do. I was waiting for that. Yeah. There's an election right around the corner, and you better believe this is a hot button issue at the ballot.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is definitely not the last we're going to hear about this, but it's an interesting development. Now, Dave, can you tell us a little bit about your theory as to why Chinese government seems to be making this a flagship issue for them at the moment?
Well, I think the temperature under Xi Jinping's seat is going up a little bit. I think it's
Mm,
tending to get warm. And in the last year, Xi has been cleaning house. You could even say from a couple of years ago when he pushed out old Hu Jintao that he's been slowly
he's been
cleaning
doing a
house.
little condoing, a little
A
Marie
little bit.
Kondo,
Yep. Yep.
cleaning
A
things
little
that
bit of
don't spark joy.
mm-hmm. Working on the feng shui here and there.
Just a little bit. So what's he been doing, Dave? He moved old Hu Jintao out to pasture.
Yep. Well, Hu
What's been
Jintao has
going
been
on?
moved
What's been
out,
going on?
and then you've had a lot of removal of senior
Hmm.
military officials.
Hmm.
And last year, He Weidong, who was the former number three in the CCP, he was the vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. He was ousted. And then
That's a
you
big
had
deal.
Zhang Yuxia, who filled in
Hmm.
after him, has been ousted. Then you had Liu Zhenli, who was the head of the Chinese C4ISR, has also been
Hmm.
ousted. These guys are senior level military officials. Neither one of them is just a guy who switched a suit for a military uniform. They're
No.
career officers. They've been in for a very long time. And these last two, Zhang and Liu, there are reports that, well, there was a gunfight in Beijing in January, and
Hmm.
both of them wanted Xi out. And you go back and you look at Chinese history, you've had Peng Dehuai and Lin Biao,
Hmm.
former vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. Well, they were also very famously or infamously put out to pasture. And
Well, I mean, well, literally in Lin Bao's case, I
yep,
mean,
yep,
he
over
went,
top of
he,
Mongolia,
well, I mean, literally,
Inner
when we
Mongolia, I
say he
should
went
say.
out to pasture, he was all over the pasture. I mean,
Yeah,
he covered the pasture.
yeah.
So yeah.
Pun
So yeah,
intended there.
pun, very intentional. He was not a great guy. So, yeah, there is a real history of the sort of coups and counter coups as a function of Chinese political power. Um, but this, I think, does add some context as to why there seems to be a lot of Chinese pressure on Cambodia, which is a Chinese ally,
Hmm.
which is, Hun Sen and his family and his regime have been long-term Chinese allies. There's a huge amount of PRC investment in that country.
Yeah, the BRI
Yeah.
investment in Cambodia, it's one of their biggest players.
Yeah, there is a real history of the sort of coups and counter coups as a function of Chinese political power. But this, I think, does add some context as to why there seems to be a lot of Chinese pressure on Cambodia, which is a Chinese ally,
Hmm.
which is, Hun Sen and his family and his regime have been long-term Chinese allies. There's a huge amount of PRC investment in that country.
Yeah, the BRI
Yeah.
investment in Cambodia, it's one of their biggest players.
It's also worth noting that this comes after a period in which Thailand, and we've talked about this on the podcast already, in which Thailand very deliberately pursued a diplomatic pathway with China. And it seemed very clear at that time that it was done particularly to counter sort of the Cambodian alliance with the Chinese. And it seems to have been successful,
Hmm.
because the Chinese are definitely putting the pressure to deal with this particular issue. And I think it's fortunate for the Thais that their view of things basically aligns with what the PRC's vision is at the moment.
Yeah, right now
Um,
it's all about cleaning it up. And for the PRC, it's about damage control. And it's showing that the CCP and Xi still has control over the country, even though the political situation there may be getting increasingly dire.
just more and more opaque with every passing minute.
Hmm.
But yes, so this is going to be an ongoing thing. It's going to be interesting to see if the whack-a-mole perhaps drives some of these businesses and their businesses out of the country, or if they just reestablish themselves after a couple of months. In any case, this is going to be an ongoing factor in Southeast Asian politics for some time. I do not see it going away.
No.
And it is going to be interesting, I think, as more and more workers are freed from these labor camps, because that's essentially what they were, and more raids are conducted, we are going to see more and more how these places work in practice.
Yep.
And we will definitely be talking about that.
We will. And just to go back to what you were saying a minute ago, I don't
Mm,
think this is going to go away
no.
because you have online gaming and gambling has become huge in
Mm.
Southeast Asia. And
Well, really all over the map. I
yeah,
mean,
you got sports betting
America,
and stuff like that in the States
yeah.
too. But I would say here,
Oh, yeah, it's a different level.
the amount of people that do it and the amount of money that they gamble compared to how much money they make.
Yeah,
And if that does not change, this is going to continue to be a very lucrative business because if people owe money, then those people live in fear. And if those people live in fear and they've got their alarm bells just waiting to go off, you can hit that alarm the right way. And you have a lot of people that unfortunately, myself included, I post stuff on social media And when you do that, you're giving away key personal information about where you are, what you're doing, and what your interests are. So
I
you've
mean,
got
it just
to,
you got to protect
you've got
yourself.
to, you got to be careful of what you post, and you've got to
Hmm.
use your brain. That's the best defense.
Oh, gee whiz. To go back to, again, one of our earliest stories, to go back to Alice Quo.
Hmm.
I mean, that was one of the interesting details from that case, where if you remember the original raid on the compound, it wasn't just scams, the pig butchering scams that were being run out of the compound. It was mostly gambling and betting.
Hmm.
And that was the bread and butter of that particular criminal operation. And I suspect, obviously, the scams get more press because they're more sensational. But I suspect if you were looking at where the revenue's coming from, the gambling and the betting is probably the bedrock of most of these companies.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it will be an ongoing social, economic, and political issue for, I would say, all of the ASEAN countries in a big chunk of the world.
Yep. Well, Gavin, we went a little bit longer than I thought, but you
We
have anything
did.
else to add?
And not at this time, Senator. I have
All right.
nothing to say.
Nothing to say. We're done here.
We're done here.
All right. Before we
Dave,
go, I've got to say thank you very much for listening, for putting up with our dribble and our drive and our
and our
drubble
drabble.
and our drabble and all of the fun stuff that we've been talking about over the last however long it's been, 20 minutes.
Too long. Yeah, yeah.
Too long. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please click that subscribe button
Speaking of
and
too long, it's time someone subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. Smash it.
boom.
Hit it with a hammer,
Not your screen. We
not
won't be
your screen.
responsible.
We will not be responsible. We want to be very clear about that. Our lawyers have advised us not with a hammer, not with a jackhammer. Just touch it. Just touch the button.
Hmm.
Speaking of which,
Yep.
please like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate our community. Dave, you know what I'm going to say.
It's my turn to hit the button.
Hit the button.